Welcome to the ARC Automation Studio. My name is Sal Spader, and I'll be your host today to discuss the low voltage control gear market. And I've invited with me here today is David Humphrey, Research Director at ARC, who's recently published a report on this specific area. Now, David, I've known you for quite some period of time, but for the benefit of the audience, could you explain to them what your expertise in the industrial automation market is and how this has really enriched your ability to analyze this market? And then furthermore, why don't you go into what are some of the common applications for the low voltage control gear market so that we better understand the topic?
My area of expertise in the industrial automation market comes from about a decade of experience that I had working for an automation supplier, where I worked with machine builders in southern Germany, helping them specify, install, and configure and program industrial automation systems. Some of the common applications for low voltage control gear are to protect motors and other electrical assets used in industrial machinery. Any motor can be connected directly to the mains, but nobody does it because of the danger of overcurrent, overvoltage. Control gear devices are placed between the mains and an electrical motor to regulate the current, to provide a startup ramp, for example, for a smooth start with some motors, but mostly just to protect them from any sort of electrical surges, short circuits, or, like I said, overvoltage.
Now, David, in your current research, have you identified any trends that would be specifically driving customers to change their buying criteria for products?
One trend in the market is a trend towards one-stop shopping. That is that it makes sense for users of this equipment, like machine OEMs, to buy from a single source. If they buy their control systems from an ABB or from a Siemens, then why not take the low voltage control gear from the same supplier? That reduces the number of suppliers. It makes the paperwork and the accounting and the logistics easier. And there is this general perception that the devices are pretty much all the same, so they're like commodities. But if we buy everything from the same brand, there is a perceived idea that these devices are sort of pre-integrated, that there's a better chance that they'll work together the first time I switch everything on. Devices in low voltage control gear package a certain performance level into a certain package size. There is a technical trend in product development to create devices with a smaller footprint, so keeping the same performance level but in a slightly smaller package so that you can fit more of them into the same space in an electrical cabinet. There's also a related trend to use the same size package but to have it deliver a higher performance rated, a higher current or higher voltage rating. That would have the effect of also allowing consolidation of devices, more devices in, or higher power devices into the same size area in an electrical cabinet. One trend that speaks for investments in low voltage control gear is simply a consciousness of providing better protection to expensive manufacturing assets, equipment, machinery, lines on the factory floor. That's related to the overall trend that end users are trying to get more usage, more lifetime out of assets they purchased already, or they're expecting machinery that they buy in the future to last longer. And that can be supported by making sure that especially the electrical devices, electric motors and drives, are protected better from the common problems that plague them, surges, overcurrent, over temperature, over voltage. And this can be handled nicely with investments in low voltage control gear.
Some very interesting points you brought up with regard to the customer buying behaviors. Now, let's look a little bit in terms of the underlying growth or in decline of this particular market, and what factors have really been driving the market over the past couple of years, and what do you see will be driving the market into the future?
The market for low voltage control gear is heavily dependent on the markets, the much larger markets for automation equipment. So if there is a boost in growth in one industry in automation, it's also going to be reflected, obviously, in low voltage control gear. On this slide, I just point out some growth potential that we've noticed in metals and mining. There's been a surge in Asia and some Eastern European countries in demand for basic materials such as steel and copper. We also expect with the advent of e-cars, more and more rare earth metals to be mined in different parts of the world, but especially in Asia. And we expect to see that result in a boost in growth for low voltage control gear. As I mentioned already, growth of low voltage control gear is heavily dependent on the whole market for automation. We see an overall slowdown in growth occurring globally in the next 2 years. There are indicators everywhere from Germany to China, and we expect growth in low voltage control gear to flatten out. Our projection is for it to average around 3% in the next 5 years, but in the next 2 years, it'll probably be lower, closer to around 2% or a little bit lower. Low voltage control gear components tend to be commodities or near commodities. They're very interchangeable. The market is not necessarily fragmented. There's a lot of suppliers offering more or less the same thing. And we see in the long term the advantage going to suppliers that offer a wider portfolio of products, including automation equipment as well. For that reason, we expect to see some consolidation occurring in the market in the next few years. It's hard to predict what companies will be targets because companies that sometimes seem like they belong together never manage to get together for financial reasons that are discussed in back rooms and not in the open. But if you keep an eye on the market, you'll probably see some of the suppliers being gobbled up in the next couple of years by larger suppliers.
From the perspective of the supplier, David, what trends have you identified that would help them shape their strategic initiatives going out into the future?
For suppliers of low voltage control gear, it's important to avoid the commodity trap. Even though these devices are to a large degree interchangeable, it's possible to sell on something other than price. Devices on the market are not all equally rugged or durable. So if you sell into harsh environments, or if you sell into markets like the US market where there's a perception that devices need to be especially tough and rugged, make your products to these specifications and differentiate yourself based on criteria that your customers are looking for. The market for control gear may be mature, but there is still some room left for innovation on the market. We mentioned already ruggedness and durability and package size. Connectivity and monitoring and diagnostics are also areas that are still not fully explored. Continuing on about innovation, there is a big wave to provide connectivity between products out there in the sense and the spirit of the industrial Internet of Things. This concept makes devices smart. It puts intelligence in edge devices, which these are classic edge devices, control gear. You see this trend already being realized in motor management systems from some suppliers. A motor management system takes several components and connects them together and adds some monitoring logic to it. So it's adding a bit of intelligence. In the future, you can probably expect to see more diagnostic information realized with basic, small, compact intelligence right on the device, where the device is connected or can be connected to the rest of its network to share information as an edge device and provide much better edge level, device level diagnostics than is possible today.
Taking the time to share some of the insights in the low voltage motor control gear market. If the audience would like any more further information about this topic, is certainly welcome to contact the author or reach out to one of our client managers at ARC. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good day.